Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whenever the fuck you're watching this episode. Another episode of The Blitz. Happy New Year, everybody. I know we're not the first BYS family show of the year. However, for all of us here at The Blitz, it is good to be back.
Yes,
And
sir.
we took a necessary week off, and the dividends are paying out, and we'll definitely get to it in time. But man, thoughts and all of the above with Damar through this whole thing, and to hear that he's good. He watched the game, he watched the W, he watched the kickoff returns, two of them shits for tutties. Let's go, dude. Great performance for Buffalo. A little shaky there, and we'll get into that. So, anyways, Gary, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. Yeah, you mentioned the Damar thing and um, emotional roller coaster.
Yeah,
National TV. It wasn't, we didn't just see highlights of it. We, you know, saw it play out in real time. And I know other networks and shows have extended a lot of gratitude to the first responders and those at the hospital. But I have to reiterate it. It's a situation that if the personnel on the field had waited any longer than they did, it would potentially could have been devastating. Um, and to recognize what needed to be done immediately to get the job done. I know Denny Kellington's been getting a lot of kudos, but he, obviously he was leading the effort. He was the first really who identified it. He called for the AED, started CPR, but the training staff that got his face mask removed so they could administer CPR properly and everything else, right? That
yeah,
went into it. And then when he gets to UC Medical Center, obviously the level one trauma specialist there did everything in their power and you know
and then
Damar
some.
Hamlin is
Yeah,
right. And Damar Hamlin is back with his family in Buffalo, still under monitoring, but back in Buffalo with his family. The Bills extending a huge gesture, saying that we've already negotiated with the NFLPA extenuating circumstances. We are going to pay him his full contract because, as standard language dictates, when you go on IR, part of your salary kind of goes away. You get paid, but you don't get paid the full salary. Bills said fuck that, much like McDermott said fuck that in the heat of the moment when the NFL was making the incorrect call to give them 5 minutes to warm up and play again. Um, just all around, everybody but the NFL has handled this so well. Um, I can't emphasize that enough that the NFL really nearly dropped the ball hard on this one, and it took the coaches on the field to fix that for them. Hey, Jeff, yeah, it's been a long time for sure. Um, and it's just so great to hear that Damar's back in Buffalo with his family, with his boys.
yep,
And really, that game was crazy because everybody knows about the number three. There's been jerseys and numbers, and the field was painted with the number three highlighted this weekend in either
yeah,
Bills red or Bills blue. But the kick return was the first kick return in 3 years and 3 months.
yeah,
Josh Allen threw three touchdowns, and the defense recorded three interceptions this weekend. So just
yeah.
crazy,
Hamlin's
crazy.
footprint all over it. I mean, listen, whether you're a believer in grand design or not, it was a fucking spectacle, and it was
Yep,
perfect. It was a
yep,
storybook game.
yep. It felt like something was up for
Great
sure.
return. Yeah,
Absolutely. But
great
most
return
importantly,
following Aiden.
just to say it again, most importantly, he's back home in Buffalo.
Yeah,
He is neurologically intact. That was the first kind of real good news we got from UC Medical, and it was incredible to hear that because 9 minutes, those first responders on the field were administering CPR and administering the AED. Unbelievable kudos to them. Incredible work all across the board. Just glad the man's home with his
yeah,
family. Most importantly.
of course.
Yeah,
Um,
Jeff. I mean, I know I emphasized that, and it might have been right before you joined it, but dude, the
everybody
NFL
did.
dropped the ball hard, man. The
So many
NFL dropped
people
the ball
came
hard.
on. So many people that were somebody.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
more than just the blue check. It's your relevance to the sport, especially the vets, um, the
Unless your name's Skip
commentators,
Bayless.
the fucking commentators, man. Shannon Sharp, yeah, he had some great opinions, and Skip deserved the smoke that he got. And
He did.
yeah, I mean, it was what I loved about it is just how quickly fans of football and even people that didn't give a shit about football kind of all came together. And then next thing you know, the GoFundMe page is booming. I mean,
Yeah,
sitting at high
like 9 million now, right?
seven
Just
figures
about.
at this point. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, crazy, man.
it's
Crazy.
great.
It's awesome to
So,
see.
man, well,
He's gonna
let's
be able to
just.
do a lot of good with that money.
Oh, for sure, for sure. It'll definitely be good. So let's get into last games, weekend's games, because there was there were some games you didn't expect. There was also some, some sitting out, in
Yeah,
preparation for the postseason.
it was a big
And
mixed bag, man. Some teams were
yeah,
vying for position.
there
Some
was a lot
teams
of
said,
people
"Fuck it,
that
we didn't
should
have anything
not
to
have
play for."
fucking been on the field that were on the field this weekend.
That as well. That as well.
Um,
Looking at you, Brandon Staley.
looking at you, Brandon fucking Staley, dude.
God, that
Um,
dude stays fucking up.
So Kansas City gets a not really so much needed W against Oakland, just to kind of further insult this wound and prove the Raiders' incompetence and everything that is what is the Raiders organization right now.
Yeah, it's been an ugly season. With the Raiders, they're trying to find a scapegoat, and to be honest, I don't know that there's really a scapegoat there in Vegas. I think they overachieved last year, and I think it got people believing more than maybe we should have. I was a believer. I thought Derek Carr getting his buddy Devontae back. I don't know, man, but it's been weird. In
It wasn't
Josh
enough for Derek
McDaniels,
Carr, but let's not negate the fact that Devontae's put up fucking numbers this year.
Derek Carr had the same statistical season he had in 2021. You know what facet of their game had a much worse statistical season than 2021? The defense. The defense was really bad this year. They were really good the year before, kind of creating turnovers, getting sacks when they needed to.
Yeah.
Max Crosby had a big year. They were unbelievable in one-score games in 2021, and they kind of regressed back to the mean this year. That's really, for me, I think that's just what it is. They overachieved in 21. They kind of underachieved this year.
Right.
So maybe over the last 2 years, they've been kind of a mad 9-8, 8-9 team.
What I do like about the Raiders right now is that they have arguably the number one free agent at the end of this year running back in football. And there's a big potential there for them.
I wonder if they'll sign him. Like
They
McDaniels comes
fucking
from that Belichick tree, and they just
they
don't.
fucking
They
better,
don't do
dude.
that with running backs.
But between Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams in the season that he's had, if you provide that support,
And Waller got healthy late in the year. He's
I
been pretty
mean,
productive the last couple of
I'm
weeks.
just saying there's something going on with that offense, and it's largely understated, like you said, because of the defense. So it's
And they're probably going to add Tom
and
Brady
the
this
coaching.
offseason.
Oh God, that would be not enough. I hate to say it, but again, it's a defensive problem, man.
It is. It is.
So,
It is.
anyways, not much really changes for Kansas. They're still out there fucking just, dictating what's going on in the AFC.
Yeah.
Tennessee, Jacksonville. This one was a bit of a nail biter, and Jacksonville comes out 20-16. They win at home. Derrick Henry,
stand up.
Listen, Derrick Henry to have 109 yards, that's, it's
Expected.
slightly below average, I could argue.
Yeah.
Christian Kirk, 99 yards.
Yeah.
They
got something going on in Jacksonville. This was a weird game because they ended up winning on a defensive score too. They couldn't quite punch it in on offense. They'd get close and couldn't finish drives. They'd stall out, around midfield a few times with drives that started well. Tennessee's defenses, they've always just been sneaky good. Braves has got them playing hard. They're gritty. They've got some good guys up front that can stuff the run and get after the passers. So, it was going to be a slog, and it proved to be a slog. But if I'm Jacksonville, God, I got to feel really, really good about not only this year, because we're hot as fish grease right now, but also the future. The future's bright there with Trevor Lawrence playing well. Travis Etienne looks like a real deal running back for them.
Yep.
And Christian Kirk, after all of the flack we gave him last year, rightfully so, with the big money he signed for in the offseason. Hey, Dad, thanks for joining.
Seeing you,
Uh,
always a pleasure.
Christian Kirk's been pretty good this year, and they've got something going. Doug Peterson's got them guys playing well.
Man, I think Doug Peterson's doing what he does best, and that's working with a college quarterback. And I think his future is just better suited in college. But again, like he's able to make it work. He's got a young, spry crew there, and again, Trevor Lawrence is the real deal. Sunshine is a real fucking quarterback. He needs the support.
They're all right on defense too, man.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we're working on the beard. We're working on the beard.
Oh, dude, it's terminal, Doug. There's nothing there. I'm telling you, this is the best I'll do.
That flow in the back is pretty solid, though.
I mean, yeah, it's full party in the back, but it's it's a desert up front. So, anyways, so Tampa, Atlanta. Listen, Desmond Ridder. Holy shit.
He kind of seemed like he figured it out a little bit.
Yeah, there's a little flair there at one point in the game for those of you guys that didn't watch, and you could tell the confidence was there. He was starting to figure it out. I mean, it's a different show.
He also looks like every Hollywood World War I veteran.
Every single one, dude. Every single one of them. I'm telling you. And listen, Tom Brady having not so great of a game.
They pulled him early, though.
They did, but like if you look at, so I was just looking at the box score of this one because I wanted to see how much time he had. Right? Yeah. It's
not been a great year for him.
He was 13 for 17, 84 yards, and a touchdown.
Uh-huh.
So he still played half the fucking game.
Yeah.
Blaine Gabbert was 6 for 8. Kyle Trask was 3 for 9. Okay.
He did leave with the lead. I'll give Brady that, I guess. But
yeah, but this isn't fucking baseball, dude. We don't do relievers. You play the full game or you get the fuck off to the sideline, dude.
It's not been a good year for Tampa.
You go find you a fucking Giselle replacement. You either concede the division or whatever. You rest when you need to, or you fuck off. Like, don't. Yeah, anyways, sure. And it wasn't it.
Nah, but Ridder looked pretty good. I don't know if Atlanta thinks they've got their quarterback or not. They're not drafting super high after this win either. So I thought possibly they might be ones giving Chicago a call after the game we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But Lovie Smith hung his nuts on Indianapolis. But maybe not. Maybe they think they got something with Ridder. Good. It's really going to come down to whether they believe that. And they can build around him. But I thought Atlanta might be in play, giving Chicago a call, because they've proven in the past that they'll be aggressive, in the draft. But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they think they got something there with Ridder.
We shall see. New England Buffalo. So we've already kind of talked about this a little bit. Sorry, I guess I'm jumping. No, I'm not. Anyways, 23-35, Buffalo wins. A much not needed, but, we got to, Brett, we will get to your question shortly. Because I feel like
we will talk about that. I have a thought on that.
Yeah,
I have a thought on that.
Same. So, anyways, look, Buffalo needed to win that game, and not for the record, not for their division standings. I mean, there was a benefit to it, sure, but like they needed to win the game, and they were the perfect opponent because New England's not in a place to beat the Bills. And, that
was the first time ever that a team returned the opening kickoff against Bill Belichick for a touchdown.
Ever.
First time ever.
I think Bill Belichick was asked a question where he said, "What is your biggest concern?" And he said special teams.
Yeah, I don't think they're what they used to be on special teams. I don't think they're what they used to be in a lot of ways, and I think it's all this kind of mishmash coaching shit. It's all I'm not going to name an offensive coordinator to start the season, and you just kind of set a bad tone. This has felt like a very un-Belichick year. After last year feeling like a very Belichick year where they kind of overachieved and made the playoffs, they come back this year and it's a very un-Belichick year, and I just don't know what to make of this fucking team right now post Brady.
This has been the first year that we have had a question presented like, has Bill Belichick lost control of his locker room?
Yeah.
And there was people not hesitating on this show saying yes.
Yeah.
And last year, you couldn't say that confidently. And this is the first year and I still don't necessarily believe he's lost control. I think he's just patient.
It's very possible. It's very
You know,
possible that
I think
he's
he's
just kind
patient.
of building towards something. I don't know. It's very un-Belichick like this year, though. Really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when Tom Brady was your quarterback, it's
100%.
you know,
100%. I don't know what to make of the Patriots post Brady, and I don't know whether 2021 is what to make of Bill Belichick kind of building this thing back up, or if 2022 and things just kind of being in disarray at times. Like you had the weird fucking pitchy woo woo where the Raiders
yeah.
won in a tie ball game, and then you had two kickoff returns, one being the opening kickoff, first time ever against the Belichick team. But yeah, Brett, like I said, it's I think it has a lot to do with the fact that this season started out in a very choppy way. The whole focus of the offseason and the preseason was this weird thing with the coordinators. And you've seen Mac Jones multiple times this year look over at Matt Patricia like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, it's got to change in the offseason. You can't, if Matt Patricia is the offensive coordinator next year, I think Belichick is like trolling the Patriots on his way out or something. I don't know.
I just have a problem with Matt Patricia.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I do have a problem with the quarterback being as dramatic as he is in those moments. Because what I've always respected about people like Peyton, and watching, and even Rodgers to an extent, we know that there's been issues between Matt LaFleur and Rodgers. We've seen it all season for years. There's been rumors, there's been confirmed discussions of conflict. And here we see a lot more dramatic. And it's just not necessary, man. It's immature, I think.
Yeah.
And maybe this is my get off my lawn moment, but I don't want to see
You're
that
not
shit, man.
wrong. You know, being
There's
that
no doubt
animated on the
Patricia, like
field
we're
is
allowed to do that as the spectator and
sure.
say, listen,
Sure.
fat Patricia, you fucking fuck. You were worthless. Take the headset off on the offensive one, pick up the defensive
Yeah, it's goofy
and do
because
your thing.
he's regarded as one of the best defensive coordinators in the league. And he's done some offensive work, but it was like quality control, and I think he helped with the O-line or the tight ends at one point. But
Yeah.
he's a defensive coordinator, and he was a really good one. And
And there's
I don't know,
absolutely nothing wrong with that.
get it? Yeah, just
We're not talking about a head coach here.
just be yourself. But Belichick put him in that position. Look, I can sympathize with Mac to a certain extent, but I also understand what you're saying, right? You don't want to be on the field being that animated, but I think there comes a time when like you've had enough, and it's just time to like let him know, like you're a fuck up, like you're fucking this away in the middle of a game.
Yeah.
When everybody on earth knows that first down's a run up the middle, second down's a pitch to the outside, and third down is fucking check down Charlie time because you're running every route short of the sticks. There's something wrong there.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's wild. It's wild. I don't know. Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about Rodgers, Dad. He's a goofy one. He's a goofy one.
He's a goofball for sure. We've
Yeah,
gone
we
off
got
on a bit of a
something.
tangent
We got
about
a little something in
England.
cat facts for Rodgers, though.
Yeah. Look, we've gone off a little bit on the whole New England franchise. I did want to just present that question just because I've heard that, this is the first time I've ever thought I thought
Never.
seriously about maybe
Never.
he has lost the locker room. This is the
Yep.
first year. And that's what a crazy time because
Crazy,
again,
dude.
Bill Belichick was the man,
Yep.
2 years ago.
Yep. Absolutely.
So anyways, how bigger they are. So the Vikings, man, 29-13, secure the North.
Yeah, they had a chance. They were chasing the 2 seed possibly if San Fran had lost and Dallas lost, and they weren't going to catch the 1 seed. But this is Chicago. They didn't have Fields. right? He's sitting and they should have sat him. He's nicked up a little bit, and you don't play him in week 18 when nothing matters, without a doubt. This is Chicago. They're a borderline competitive team with Fields under center. They're a shit team without him because it's not a very good roster. They have to hit with these draft picks that they've got in this coming draft. They've got the number 1 pick. I think they're going to trade out of it. I don't think that there's a guy, unless somebody goes to the combine and blows them away at offensive tackle or, a defensive, somebody on the defensive front that might blow them away. I don't think there's a guy that they stay at number 1 to draft. So right now, I'm thinking they're taking phone calls and they're looking at how many first and second round picks can we get to build around Justin Fields. Because one, that's what I want them to do because I like Justin Fields and I think he has potential in this league. But 2, it's the right fucking move. You don't stay at number 1 unless there's a guy that you know is going to be your starting left tackle for 10 years or is going to get you 15 sacks a year on the defensive side of the ball. Those are the only 2 options if you stay at number 1. Otherwise, you're trading out of number 1 and you're getting as many first and second round picks as you can get because there's going to be a lot of phone calls. This is a very hyped quarterback class right now, and there's going to be teams that are drooling over going up to number 1 to either get Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, depending on which one they like the best. So this, for me, was the best case scenario for the Bears in week 18 because we're going to talk about the Houston game here in a minute. And this was the Vikings basically playing out as much as they could to, 1, get ready for the playoffs, and 2, maybe move up in seeding, which they didn't because San Fran won, Philly won, and that, they didn't have a chance to move up, once San Fran won their game. So, this kind of played out how I expected it to, the way the Bears were. But really, this is about the tale of 2 different things. One team getting ready for the offseason and trying to decide what they're going to do to build around their franchise quarterback, and Minnesota hoping that they're getting right here right before the playoffs, because I thought about halfway through the year this was a team that could make a run in the playoffs. Down the stretch, they've sputtered a little bit, and I'm curious to see how they rebound as we get into the playoffs.
Yeah, and definitely an interesting playoff weekend coming up for sure. Baltimore and Cincinnati. I mean, look, Joe Burrow just doing his goddamn thing, king of the North. And man, I feel really bad for Baltimore.
Without Lamar, they're a different team, ain't they?
Yeah, they
can't do anything offensively without Lamar.
Yeah,
and I'm a little tossed up here between what this means down the stretch for Baltimore. Does it mean that Lamar has leverage and they have to pay him because of how bad they've looked? Or does it mean that Baltimore realizes they can't rely on Lamar going forward because he's been nicked up the last 2 seasons after being pretty unscathed his first few seasons in the league? He's been nicked up the last 2 years. Is this the time when Baltimore says, okay, we've got to start thinking past Lamar? Who are we going to put under center? Is it a free agent? Are they going to get like a Jimmy Garoppolo and build around him? Or is it, we got to keep Lamar because of how bad we've been and we've got to figure out a way to keep him healthy? I don't really know what that answer is, but I think that the struggles down the stretch here in the last month for Baltimore have to be posing those questions in that locker room and in that front office, because they looked awful against. This was an 11-point win that should have been 20-25 based on the way it was played. But since he kind of let off the gas a little bit when they realized they had Baltimore's offense pretty much strangled.
Well, in Baltimore's, I mean, they're kind of.
That's a good question. I'm going to move that to the bag, buddy. I'm going to move that to the bag.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's another one for the bag. I like it.
So, Ravens play the Bengals Sunday night.
Again, yeah.
I mean,
no, he's another guy that's always hurt, and you can't rely on him. Dobbins is another guy they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do because he's so talented when he's on the field. Can't stay healthy.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens this offseason. I'm looking at the offseason for Baltimore. It just doesn't really seem too bright for them. Cincinnati's they're in stride, and Baltimore's nowhere near it. So this next, I mean, this was the fight for the biggest loser. Houston, Indianapolis, 32-31, and Lovie Smith on his way out, focuses on winning the game.
Yeah, I'm going to come back to this question, right? Brett's question. Did Lovey get fired for winning Week 18? I'm going to answer it very bluntly. Lovey went for 2 because he was getting fired. Lovey went for 2 because he knew he wasn't going to be the guy making
it's backwards.
the draft pick.
Yeah, your 100%. Question is backwards.
It's a fine question, right? Because it feels that way. But if I'm Lovey and I know that I have a chance at the first pick, there's no way I go for 2. I kick the extra point. Let's go to overtime. If we happen to win it in overtime, whatever. But I'm not playing that way right then. And I know this contradicts what I said earlier in the year about a Houston game where they had a chance to go take points. But I feel like I know that I'm getting fired before Week 18. That game that I'm referencing that I'm contradicting myself now was in like Week 7 or 8, somewhere in the middle of the season where the season wasn't over yet. You had a chance to. It was the Dallas game, if I remember correctly, because Dallas came back and won that game, kicked the field goal. You're trying to teach your team how to win games that point of the season. Now, Week 18, everybody knows the writing's on the wall. If we're going to get the first pick, we're going to have an opportunity to get a quarterback, or we're going to have an opportunity to build around if we like Davis Mills. Lovey went for 2 because he knew he was getting fired. Yeah. That's my stance on it.
Yeah, and these are 2 teams in the middle of some serious turmoil right now. Indianapolis there's so many issues in that organization. I mean, there's really not enough you can say about Jeff Saturday.
I have a question for you, actually.
Okay.
On Indy, because I've made it clear from the start of the season how I felt.
I swear to God,
Indy.
dude, if you say anything about Sam Ellinger, I can't
I'm
right
not
now.
Going there.
My heart hurts for that
you,
man. He's so dumb.
Do you think that Indianapolis's front office ownership, really, Jim Irsay,
okay.
Do you think that he's going to be able to realize just how far away they are and they blow it up this offseason and go into a full rebuild? Or do you think he's still going to be stubborn and they're going to be chasing a retread quarterback this offseason? Are they going to be in the Derek Carr sweepstakes is essentially what I'm asking you. And it doesn't have to be Derek Carr. It could be Jimmy Garoppolo. But in that vein, are they chasing, we just need a quarterback because Matt Ryan wasn't the answer. Carson Wentz wasn't the answer.
Well, listen, when I think about Jim Irsay and who he tries to embody the brand of the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, that is his pride and joy. That's his baby. And that's with fair. That being
Gary
said,
does the same thing down in Dallas. I don't mind that from owners.
No joke. 100%. I could not agree more. You know that I am a huge critic of Dak Prescott, and you give him way more credit than I do.
And I give him almost none.
Exactly. So again, with that though, you can't lead the fucking league in interceptions and played 4 less games.
Aaron,
you just can't.
You're probably
you can't.
Right, Aaron.
Anyways, thank you, Aaron. You took the words right out of my mouth. This man is not going to sacrifice the ego to admit that there's bigger problems than just who's under center. And what else? What else to say than, hey, you know what? We took a gamble on old Matty Ice. He was washed up. Sam Ellinger's clearly not he's going to be a career quarterback at best, and he's 5 years away from that. So from there, this is where we're at. I mean, this is fucking Colt McCoy 2.0 in the NFL is what we're seeing, and that's fine. That's fine. Look, Colt's had a great career as a backup. So Jim Irsay will not. They're going to be well into the sweepstakes.
I've watched the exact same thing play out in Washington the last fucking 3 years, too. It's blame the quarterback. Got to save my job.
Hey,
Get
Brett.
the fuck out of here.
Hey, Brett. No.
Maybe. I don't know. Heineke, I don't think they see Heineke as the answer, but I think they're going to be chasing Derek Carr. They're going to be chasing Jimmy G, and they're not going to give him any more weapons.
Jim Irsay is going to go after the names because I am the owner of the Indianapolis Colts. That's why he went after Matt Ryan. That's why.
I agree.
That's why he went after.
I know that
Carson
was a loaded
Wentz.
question, but
he's going after Super Bowl contender quarterbacks, right?
On this question, I hope, and I know this is not going to be the way it plays out because they never go the right way. Ron Rivera fired Scott Turner today. I've never been more happy about a coaching decision. Ron made a good move finally on the coaching front, got rid of Scott Turner. I hope that they bring Heineke back and it's a competition in the offseason for the starting job with Sam Howell. But my worry is that the DC fan base is so fucking fickle. The first mistake that Howell makes, they're going to be chanting for Heineke. So the right move would be to move on from Heineke. He's going to land somewhere as a backup, and he's going to play a long career as a backup. I love him. I appreciate everything he's done here in Washington, but the right move for this organization would be to move on. I don't mind if they go into this offseason and say we're going to build around Sam Howell and go get some offensive line help. Yeah, I know that was a sidebar tangent, but
Sam Howell.
Brett asked the question, so I had to.
Hey, now Sam Howell.
I liked what I saw Sunday, and I know it's a very small sample size. It's really hard to judge guys like that.
Sure,
but I liked what I saw. I liked that he was aggressive with the football down the field when he had opportunities.
Let's see what we see let's see what we see in training camps and everything else. I mean, I
just don't want him to chase quarterback again. I'm over this.
It doesn't need to be the focus because you see what he's capable of. So now it's just build around the kid. I'm not saying you need to invest everything. Don't fucking max out your draft cap for him.
But I'll go as far as to say this is something I've proposed to other people I've talked to, and I don't think we've ever really broached this topic on the show. But I would go as far as to say like more than 50% of quarterbacks that we look at that were drafted and we see them as failures. More than 50% of them would have had an opportunity to succeed, but teams didn't go about it the right way building around them.
Yeah.
Infrastructure is so much more important than people give it credit for when you're talking about quarterbacks. There's so few quarterbacks that are going to be successful no matter what. There's so few of them.
I feel like with Aaron's
Aaron, that's fine. That's fair.
Listen,
that's
with Aaron's comment though, I feel like that's a lot truer than people realize.
That's
because
so fair.
Because the Cowboys have a rivalry with every fucking NFL team, period. If you're playing the Cowboys, your team has never been more filled with team pride than possible than going against the Cowboys because it's the way it works. Everybody fucking hates
you want to knock them off. It's like playing the Yankees in baseball. You want to fucking kill them.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
And that's why they're America's football team.
And the fans are nearly as pretentious.
Oh, guilty as charged, baby. This is not our year, but guilty as fucking charged. We are the most prestigious organization that has ever existed. God bless the great state of Texas and no place else.
I'll say this as a closing point about Houston.
Good.
Lovie Smith losing them the first pick couldn't have happened to a better franchise.
Yeah. Oh, let's not get it twisted. Yeah, dude. Yeah. I mean, look,
we're gonna talk a little more about them later.
Schneider, Irsay, and
McNair. Yeah,
and
they
McNair
can all go fucking fly a kite,
dude. In the most thunderous and lightningest of storms.
Absolutely.
My God.
Couldn't happen to a better franchise.
So paint drying on a wall between two pretty spicy contenders here. Obviously, Dolphins are down Tua. They play the Jets.
They both had their third string quarterback too.
Third string quarterbacks in, folks.
Yeah, and it showed on the field.
Listen, the score was 6-11.
It was 6-6 with like 30 seconds to go. Miami hit their game winner to go up 9-6, and then pitchy woo woo got a safety for the Jets. But wow, what a shit game! And
listen,
how the fuck did I end up with this game on my TV in Washington D.C. area over the three other games in this window that were so much fucking better?
Yeah,
I had Baltimore, Cincinnati on the other channel, right? I got two channels during the 1 o'clock.
It's because you're right betwixt them.
But what the fuck did I want to watch third string quarterbacks for?
Listen,
bullshit.
I saw as much as I could see on Red Zone, and there wasn't much, dude.
There wasn't. Brett's absolutely right, though, man. That's fucking bad beat central, bud. It almost feels like every time a play like that happens, either the defense scores a touchdown or it's a safety. It always beats the people that had the fucking dog plus the points. It always seems to work out that way. And it's never any less painful, I'm sure.
So either way, next weekend or this weekend, excuse me, we have the Dolphins against the Bills.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we'll get into that later. So this
Division
is,
rivals.
I mean, this is going to be division rivalry, and this is going to be, man, there's a lot. Yeah. I mean, there's not much to say there. It's very simple and direct. I'm sure you can put 2 and 2 together. So, I mean, 11. There was a score there that says 11.
That's a baseball score.
I can't believe that shit, dude. That's a kickball score. What the fuck is going on here? 11.
6. 11.
6. Are we playing fucking ping pong, dude? What is going on? 11. Unbelievable. So Carolina Panthers, they beat the Saints.
This had to be an invigorating watch too.
And this one that was in my neck of the woods. And let me tell you that this game was fucking worse than watching paint dry. It was worse, dude.
Neither of these teams wanted to win.
My succulent needs water once every 3 to 6 weeks. And I would have much rather waited the 3 weeks to water it again by standing in front of it the whole time than watch that fucking game. It was horrible.
That's a tough watch. That's a tough watch.
So I'm good to move on if you are.
100%.
Great. Cleveland, Pittsburgh. And, you know,
God, this was so close to meaning something for the playoffs.
So close to meaning something. And Tomlin.
Buddy keeps that winning record intact, buddy. Listen, I'm gonna give you credit because I believe it was 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
4 weeks ago, you were saying that Pittsburgh they had a chance, and you picked them.
They were my dark horse.
Streak alive. Yep. And they nearly got into the tournament. And
yeah,
I'm gonna tell you,
still kept the streak alive.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna shout Brett out right now because he asked the question, and some really arrogant folks in our group chat had a very ignorant response. So he asked the question, who wants to play Pittsburgh right now if they get into the playoffs? And the correct answer is not a fucking team in the NFL. I can tell you that right now. With the way that defense is playing and the way they're playing efficient offensive football, they're not lighting the scoreboard up, but they're playing cautious with the football, running the ball well for the first time in the Najee Harris era. He's getting some blocking up front, and you can see what that guy can do with the ball because he's a fucking man. Yeah. And that defense is unreal, creating turnovers, sacking the quarterback. TJ Watt's back healthy. Minkah Fitzpatrick's healthy. They got healthy in the secondary across the board, and it shows. And the correct answer is nobody. However, the ignorant folks in the group chat said, I'll play any of the 3 teams that have a chance to get in. The fuck you will. You had 2 correct answers and 1 incorrect answer, and you got the wrong one.
I like that.
Yeah, I do think so too, man. I like Pickett. I like his workman mentality, and I think that's what Tomlin loves about him. And I think they've got a chance. George Pickens going to be good. They've got to continue to build that O-line. They've got the defense pretty locked up. Fitzpatrick's on a favorable deal. TJ Watt just got paid, so they've got a chance. They've got a chance to really build around a young quarterback. And we've seen this. The Chiefs did it. The Seahawks did it. You build around a guy on a rookie deal, and you put an infrastructure around him. You can win a lot of games. And then you got a quarterback that knows how to win games. And later on, when you can't quite put all those guys around him, he can kind of carry you. So I'm with you, Aaron. I think that they have a really special relationship. And I think that they just kind of see eye to eye on this stuff.
Cleveland got what they deserved.
Oh, yeah. I hope they never win another game, to be honest.
Yeah, that franchise is fucking dead to me.
Yeah, you're right, Brett. Yeah,
facts, and that's what Jerry Jones, Schneider, Irsay, all the same person.
Yeah,
different buckets of money, bigger buckets of money for some. Yeah, I mean, but anyways, Los Angeles. Jesus. Anyways, all right, my schedule was jumped up a little different than yours. My bad. So Giants.
Yeah, the Rams. This is on me. NFL.com had it one way last week.
I went to ESPN. That was my bad.
ESPN had it a very different way. So
yeah, no, it's all good. I should have just read the fucking screen in front of me. My bad. 16-22, and the Eagles pull it off at home. Jalen Hurts, confidence in offense. They did what they needed to do to win. This wasn't some big showcase, but it was good, clean ball and some not so great ball from New York, and some of the magic, unfortunately, fizzling out here. At least this week, they had some resting on the Giants,
Yeah,
but
they sat a bunch of guys. I'm gonna be honest on that note. Between Philly and the game we're gonna talk about next, I don't know which team I hate the Week 18 result for more.
Yeah.
Philly got up early and then had to hold on late in the game. I think with the Giants playing basically second, third, and fourth stringers, they should have really run away from them. This should have been a 20-point win, in my opinion, but it's division, it's weird, and they started kind of taking their foot off the gas. I don't like when teams do that in Week 18 when you take your foot off the gas, because it's hard to flip that switch. And in the NFL especially, it's really hard to flip that switch. I don't love this result for the Eagles. If I'm an Eagles fan, I'm glad we secured the 1 seed and we get one more week healthy. But I don't love what I saw on the field this weekend for Philly going into the playoffs. And I've been really skeptical all year, so maybe that's clouding my judgment right now. I haven't really been a believer on Philly, but I think they're pretty vulnerable as a 1 seed. I think they're pretty vulnerable in the NFC.
I think that they don't deserve the 1 seed in the NFC, and I agree. Like, again, they're there because of their record. I'm not going to debate that, but I'm talking about like who is really the number 1 in the NFC.
San Francisco, man.
It's San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree.
And I doubted them. I doubted San Francisco up until probably 3 weeks ago.
Aaron,
And
perfect.
yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
And the Eagles, I have said on the show that I believe they are on the downward trend. I just didn't feel like it was necessarily errors or in the performance on there was for sure there was problems, but I don't think it was anything of concern. I think they just did what they needed to do to win, and they got themselves into some shit positions, but that's kind of the nature of the game in general. So
I still think the book's been written, and the team that can follow that script for the book that was written by Washington and nearly copied by Tennessee in back-to-back weeks is San Francisco. And that's run the ball.
Is disgusting.
That defense is nuts. That's run the ball. That's rush lane discipline. They've got guys up front that they can rush and not over pursue Jalen Hurts and really create some problems for him, just like Tennessee was able to, just like Washington was able to once Jack Del Rio got his head out of his ass. And I think that's what San Francisco can do. And I don't want to spoil necessarily my picks or anything, but San Francisco is, as Aaron put it, I think that they are the team to beat in the NFC right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Eagles get to sleep in this weekend, and we'll see what happens, but there's going to be plenty to talk about coming up, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Dallas and the Commanders. Let's just go ahead and rip this Band-Aid off.
I've got a piece, and then I'm going to pass it to you because I know you've got some things to say about Dallas.
My shit is simple, so please, you have the floor. The gentleman has the floor.
I'm gonna talk a little bit about the Commanders mostly. I like that they finally made the decision. I don't like that it took the fans bitching about it for Ron Rivera to say we're going to give Sam Howell the start for Week 18. I didn't understand the Heineke thing at the beginning of the week, him saying he's going to play a half and then Sam's going to play the second half. Like, it's not a preseason game. Just play your young guy. We're eliminated from the playoffs. The fact that you didn't know the week before that by losing we were eliminated from the playoffs if the fucking Packers won, like, what? What? You're the head coach of a fucking professional football team, and you don't know the fucking scenarios for the playoffs? Oh, God, it's so embarrassing. But
I mean, to be fair, he does claim that he was like being sarcastic or whatever, that he knew the implications. This wasn't blatant ignorance. He was no. Okay. Okay.
No.
All right.
No. He can say that all he wants, but he's full.
Listen, I have no dog in the fight. I don't even have an opinion.
His first statement was, "Well, I was just focused on winning," and now he's walking it back. Like, fuck off, you fucking asshole! Like, shut the fuck up, okay?
Yeah, golly. Not bitter.
I'm so tired of it. But
proceed.
Yeah. So I like some things that I saw from the last few weeks with this team, despite the fact that down the stretch we went 2-3-1 and missed out on the playoffs. Or actually, I think 1-3-1 down the stretch and missed the playoffs. Chase Young's back. I like what I saw from Chase Young in 2020. He was awesome, rush lane discipline, beating his guy one-on-one. In 2021, he got selfish, was rushing past the passer. Guys would bail out to his side all the time and make plays against us. The injury, maybe it allowed him to refocus, but he was really good down the stretch. I'm excited for 2023 with Chase Young. We've got John Allen locked up, Montez Sweat locked up. I hope we can lock up Deron Payne. That front four is going to be fucking phenomenal. And we found a couple of guys this year that can fit in the rotation after losing Tim Settle. Defensive backfield, we found some guys. Ben St. Juste is really good. Kendall Fuller came on late in the year. The second half of the season, he's been real good. Derek Forrest, Cam Curl. I feel really good about the defense going into 2023. On the offensive side of the ball, I like what I saw from Sam Howell. He was aggressive with the football when he had opportunities to. Scott Turner, hopefully he finds a job somewhere else, but just not in Washington. I'm glad that Ron got rid of him because he really sets this offense up for failure all the fucking time.
He says.
Oh, my God. But when Sam Howell had an opportunity, he pushed the ball down the field. Throw the ball to Terry. It's simple. Throw the ball to fucking Terry. But
it's a solid game plan.
It's your best option on every single play.
Christ.
But I do like what I saw from Sam Howell. If Ron Rivera comes out and says, this is our guy, we're going to build around him in the offseason, I'm all in. I'm all in because I'm so tired of the quarterback carousel. Build around him. And I've been saying it for 2 years about Heineke. Now I want him to just tear the Band-Aid off. We're going to build around Sam Howell. We're going to build the offensive line.
Even if he's a fucking placeholder, just build it.
Build it. If he's
no good, you do have some incredible players that you need to hold on to.
100%. I'm just so tired of the carousel, though. So that's me.
I just don't understand the perpetual need for the quarterback carousel. I don't. Like, it doesn't matter. You can be more calculated in your strikes, man.
I think the last 2 years, it's really
coaching turnover has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, it's been
about coaching turnover has a huge influence on that decision. My problem is that now it's affecting the game that I love.
100%.
Because we're seeing incorrect recruiting moves that are going to, I mean, we see it all the time in college, right? Like, that's a huge influence in college. Is that you don't even get the full draft class sometimes. And, you don't get a full 4 or 5 years of draft class of recruits in before you're, heads on the chopping block. And people have that same heartburn with, like, Sarkisian happens. And maybe they're right, but Charlie Strong, in my opinion, when they hired him, was a placeholder for someone like Tom Herman, who is a placeholder for a Sark, who's going to be a placeholder for the next. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. Let's just get better than where we are last year. And I think the Commanders are on the right track. And I think that Howell is a prime. He's a perfectly suitable quarterback to build up. You've seen the potential with your own team. Now build it. If you build it, wins will come.
Yeah. I have one thought on Dallas.
Christ.
I don't know how you lay that bad of an egg.
Yeah.
In week 18 when you have a chance at getting the 1 seed in the NFC.
Yeah.
And I know it's a division rival. I know it is what it is, but I lay that all at the feet of Mike McCarthy and his inability to get his team going for this game. They showed up so flat, and it just seemed like they were never engaged. And I have to lay that at the feet. I do it to Ron when Washington shows up flat at the beginning of games, at the end of halves. It's all about coaching. I'm laying it all at the feet of Mike McCarthy. That was such a poor showing, and that is a bad reflection of what he did throughout the week as the head coach to get that team ready.
And that's across the board.
Yep.
That's a Kellen Moore problem. There was multiple failures.
Yep.
We've got coaches talking on record about potential head coach positions, and that shit showed. Because the fact of the matter is the Dallas Cowboys should have just drug their nuts on the Commanders. And they didn't. And they didn't even come fucking close. And, this time the better team won. And, we were talking about the Eagles and their performance and how you felt like it was a worrisome performance. And this, for me, was like, they're exactly who I think they are. And they're a fucking ruse. And it's not And for me, it's not really at the player position. Like, look, Dak has the interceptions, whatever. I don't care. I don't. It's when they're on, they're on. And when the play calling's on, they're a great team. And if Dak makes his mistakes and that's whatever, you still have to remove, your job as a coach is to remove that variable from the situation. You need to be on your shit so your quarterback has the best chance at winning. And that's what happened. I mean, how do you answer that question? You know,
here's an interesting stat for you that it does have a little to do with this.
Okay.
Dak has been top 5 in every season of his career.
Okay.
In possible interceptions that didn't result in interceptions. So
that's subjective.
Maybe it's just guys catching the ball. No, I don't know.
That's
man.
Subjective. I'm not going to hear that.
It is subjective. It's a stat. It is what it is.
It's bullshit, dude. That's subjective and coincidence. It's not a legitimate stat. It's just
maybe.
Maybe
that's
it's a
fair.
clickbait number. I'm not going to hear that. Interceptions are interceptions. It's factual outcomes.
I will say this: the sequence where he threw the near pick 6 to Kendall Fuller.
Yep.
If Kendall hadn't fallen down, that's a touchdown. And then the very next play, he threw the same ball, and Kendall Fuller took it back for 6. That, to me, says everything that you need to know about Dak Prescott. He doesn't process the game very well. He's a very athletic, very intelligent guy. I think he's a hell of a football player overall, but he doesn't process the game very well when things aren't perfect for him. If he can hit his hitch, throw a ball, and a guy's wide open, he's fine. But when it's time for him to process the game, I see him struggle a lot like this, and I think that's part of why he's got 7 straight games with an interception. 7 straight.
Yeah.
He's thrown multiple picks in like 3 of those games.
You know, I'm not going to continue
to $40 million quarterback.
I agree. I'm not going to try to like justify anything on his account, you know, and I've been vocal about my frustrations with Dak Prescott. But yeah, I mean, I think that it was a pathetic display of coaching and execution from the entire team, and I feel like the majority of the blame goes to the coaching staff.
Absolutely.
Because we had the potential to be firing on all cylinders, and we were not.
Yep. Now you got to go play TB12.
Yeah, and good luck because you've never beat him once.
I know.
Yeah. So enjoy it. All right, on to the next one. Listen, Chargers Broncos. We saw. I mean, listen. Fashionably late is one thing, but fashionably late to your own NFL season as a very well compensated quarterback in the National Football League should be fucking criminal.
Yeah.
I mean, Russ showed up. I feel like it was the perfect for him. It's the perfect cliffhanger for this dramatic saga that will be his tenure with the Denver Broncos.
Everybody's going to go into the offseason thinking, maybe if they get a
people
guy.
like Andy are going to be like, no, he really is back though. That's what's going to happen. I mean,
but they're Aaron's Broncos, right?
The same Russ stands or the same Cowboys fans saying this is our year. There are people that just cultly follow Russ and believe in him, and I hope that Andy has come to his senses, but we'll see soon because I will be asking him that question. But, I mean, we know that Russ was capable of it whenever he had a decent coach and he had some decent weapons behind him. We saw a decent performance. Is this something that gives you any glimmer of hope for next season for the Denver Broncos?
No. I got to see the offseason. My bigger issue is Brandon Staley just in a game that means nothing. You can't move up, can't move down in playoff seeding. You're set where you're at. You've got Mike Williams getting hurt, and he probably won't be able to play in your playoff game. Maybe your most explosive player on your team other than maybe Austin Eckler, but Mike Williams is the guy on the outside. He goes down with a back injury in a game that means nothing. And then after the game, like to try to talk to everybody like you're the smartest guy in the room saying really dumb shit That's the most Brandon Staley thing. I think that's the biggest takeaway I have from his entire tenure as the Chargers head coach. Is he just does this all the time. We only have 48 guys. I can only pick so many. Well, bud, like less than half of that is what you need to field a football team. A little bit of a rotation and your special teams guys. Like you could have sat 10 guys and been okay. Like it's such a stupid take. We only have 40. We have 48 players. We can only do so much. Like fuck. Everybody else in the league figured out how to sit their fucking starters. Ask the fucking Giants. They said everybody.
There are enough amateurs on a Google search that will point you in the right direction of how to set up your roster for your team.
Unbelievable. Such a stupid take.
It's a cop-out.
Absolutely.
It's a fucking cop-out, man. And I won't hear any different. It was a cop-out. That was a pathetic, immature excuse.
Absolutely.
So that's where I'm at with it. But anyways, I would say much needed win for Los Angeles, but I'd be lying. And so Denver gets the W 31-28. And Russell Wilson, hopefully in the eyes of the Mile High fans, maybe getting a glimmer of hope for all of us here at Backyard Sports. There's no such hope. Because even your coaching situation is not necessarily improved.
Yeah.
So on to the next one. Rams, Seattle. Man, there's something about Geno Smith.
Weird game.
I love this vindication, man.
Seattle was in a bad way for a big part of this game, too.
They really were.
Down the stretch, Rams, they just don't have anything. Everybody's hurt. They've lost guys. They couldn't replenish in the draft. Mayfield makes a bad decision late in the game, too, and he's going to take a lot of heat for it. But, on the other side, Seattle stayed. They stayed in the game, persevered. It's sort of been their season. They got off to a real hot start, fell off. I'm not going to lie. I was rooting for the Rams because I wanted Lions-Packers to mean that MCDC might go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
But in the end, Seattle did what they got to do, and Geno's had a great year after the trade. Russ wanted out so bad, but Geno's had a phenomenal year. They're going to the playoffs, and Russ is golfing. So golfing and then and pissing in one of his 12 fucking bathroom toilets that nearly eclipsed his touchdown total this year.
I'm sure he'll have an active participation in TikTok over the off season.
Oh, sure.
And that's all I have to say about that. So 13-38 is the score of the Arizona Cardinals against the San Francisco 49ers. And, the Cardinals were the only thing that I enjoyed about the Cardinals is just getting a chance to watch J.J. Watt get one last sack.
Yeah.
And that was it for me.
Got a couple.
Yeah. And so, it is what it is. Yeah, dude.
We'll circle back. So this game started off weird because Arizona scored first and then San Francisco got going, but San Francisco ran away as they should.
As they should.
I think, honestly, it's a little bit of both. Honestly, I think it's an indictment on Russ because
100%.
I think people were giving him more credit in Seattle than he deserved, especially after watching what's going on here. But also the little tidbits we get from guys like Tyler Lockett who post on Twitter then delete it. Russ wasn't very liked in Seattle. And Pete Carroll now has taken a team that everybody thought was dead in the water because they traded away Russ and they're in full rebuild. They're going to the playoffs. And they still have a top 5 pick because Denver sucked this year. Russ sucked this year. So I think it's a little bit of both, man. I think if I'm assigning percentage, I think it's like 40% an indictment on Russ and 60% compliment to Pete Carroll. But I think it's pretty even across the board for both.
I give the edge to Russ.
That's fair.
I think that it's certainly a compliment to Carroll. There's no doubt. But I think that Russ was so overhyped, and it shows in his contract, and it shows in his following leading up to the beginning of the season. I don't think that. I mean, I wasn't sold on the Broncos. I thought that something cool could happen. I did like the Jerry Judy, combo there. I felt there was potential, but like I didn't think that this was going to be some fucking Super Bowl champion caliber team, and they weren't even close to that.
No.
So yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like there are some Russ stands that deserve a big ass plate of crow after this season. Oh man,
he's definitely still fucking chomping.
Dude, you could cremate that man when he passes away. And there's gonna be some gum smacking wherever he's going, dude. That jaw is you can't turn iron into ash. Okay.
Maybe it was Hackett. I just think Russ found a couple touchdowns late in the season.
He is a proper quarterback that will only be as good as his coach. So I agree with that.
Maybe.
But I also believe that, like again, this what we learned is that Carroll can make a star out of just about anybody.
Yeah, Pete Carroll's a great coach. Great coach.
He has the eye for what he needs in a quarterback to be great. When I think of Pete Carroll, I think of people like Pop, people that can work with somebody's.
You know what they did in overtime that they didn't do when they had Russ though? They handed the fucking ball off to their beast of a running back. Kenneth Walker is legit.
Kenneth Walker is a fucking nightmare. His cuts are disgusting.
Yeah, he's got one of the filthier jump cuts in the league for sure.
I love it.
But I wonder a little bit this offseason how many coaches are going to be turned off by Russ being the quarterback there and how many guys are going to jump at that opportunity. I'm just curious how things shake out there for Denver because I'm not convinced that that's a real desirable job yet.
No doubt. They're gonna have to do well in the offseason and in the draft to be able to really get a good coach on the line.
Yeah, and I wonder what coach is going to sign up for navigating those waters.
You think Harbaugh wants a piece of that, dude?
I don't know. Yeah, Denver's got a fucking nutty good young defense. So
exactly,
if they can just get a little bit out of the offense, that's going to be a really good team. Oh, I think he's talking about Seattle, and yes, Seattle's got they've got the defensive rookie of the year. He should win defensive rookie.
They've got a young
and they've got a really good core of young guys. They're rebuilding a Legion of Boom essentially.
Yeah,
they've got like a rookie safety, 2 rookie defensive linemen that were really good, and his name's fucking eluding me right now, but it's Trey something who's going to win defensive rookie of the year. I don't know why his name is fucking blanking on me right now, but that corner, he's like PFF rated in the top 5, and he's a fucking rookie. He's unbelievable. Him and Sauce Gardner are just unbelievable.
Dave,
God.
Don't.
Oh,
dude.
God.
Dave, hey, listen.
Are they going to do a 1-for-1?
Yeah, I was going to say Rodgers is going to go to Denver.
Diva for a diva?
It makes sense that he'd go to the Mile High Stadium. Emphasis on high.
Hey-o. How much ayahuasca?
Dave is a diehard Packers fan. Good to see you, Dave.
Hey, Dave. Thanks for joining, buddy.
Yeah, listen. Man. Dave, if you're still on, tell me where you think Aaron Rodgers is going or what he's doing this offseason. Let's get to the last game. For sure, dude.
Tariq Woolen. That dude should win defensive rookie of the year, hands down.
Yeah. No doubt. Man, we got on a
Speaking of the Packers.
We got on a hell of a tangent, though. We went back to the Seahawks. Anyways, so Lions, Packers, and the Packers are on after being like given the fun. Like it was leading up to kickoff that they learned that they still are in it.
All you gotta do is win.
All you got to do is win. You got the win-in opportunity against a struggling MCDC Detroit Lions.
Had nothing to play for except to knock out the Packers. And
they had one opportunity.
They knocked out the Packers.
Listen, I say, look, this is poetic, man.
That's how you bite kneecaps.
That's how you bite kneecaps. This is how you know it's division shit. This is town business, okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes. I mean,
The
I
silk
loved it.
now.
I loved it. I fucking loved it. I hate that the Detroit Lions are not in the playoff
I know,
picture.
man. That's
but
another
I
team like
loved
Pittsburgh
it.
that I don't know that teams would have wanted to play them. They're pretty hot too. Jacksonville's hot.
The potential there is unreal.
Detroit dropped a game against Carolina that they shouldn't have dropped. Yeah. Detroit dropped that game against Carolina though, and that really sunk their season. If they had won that, they'd be in the playoffs right now. But you know, it's one of those things. Like Green Bay had this thing in the books, but I'm gonna save it because we got a cat facts about Knucklehead. I want to talk a little bit about Jared Goff, who has gotten a lot of guff on this show about his inability to play the quarterback position, why they traded away. The Rams gave up a bunch of first-round picks to get rid of him. They don't have to re-sign him because
they fucking better not, dude.
They re-signed him when they got him, but it was a team-friendly deal, so they may renegotiate this offseason.
Hey, Dave, just in case you're wondering where Aaron Rodgers should go.
Yeah. But Jared Goff had 4,000 yards this year, 29 touchdowns, and 7 picks.
That's not bad.
I don't think they need to worry about the quarterback position. They've got one of the best offensive lines in football. I think they need to focus a little bit on some of the peripheral positions. They need another wide receiver to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think they need to address the running back position. Swift isn't really reliable. Jamal Williams is a guy that can bang it in from the goal line. If they get a playmaker there at running back, and I think they're going to have to replenish at tight end. They traded away Hawkinson. Pretty deep tight end class this year. Mayer from Notre Dame. You've got Bowers at Georgia. Georgia's fucking just churning tight ends out.
I don't know the cap space, but I mean, what do we think about for a Josh Jacobs or a Tony Pollard? I mean, that pair up with Jamal Williams would be disgusting.
They've got cap room because the only real big cap hit they've got right now is Goff, and basically everybody else is on a rookie deal. They've been rebuilding, so they're going to have some cap space to play. So a guy like Jacobs could be a fit for them. Maybe a Pollard if they're looking for an explosive guy to replace DeAndre Swift. I think Pollard's a little duplicative with DeAndre Swift if they keep him on the roster. But yeah, man, Lions. I think the Lions are going to be players this offseason in free agency, but they've got draft picks still too because they've still got the Rams pick and their pick. Still got 2 first-round picks, so things are looking really up for Detroit.
Yeah, I'm just saying you need to buy in Detroit stock if you haven't already because it's low and it's going to be good.
Yep, absolutely.
It's going to be good. All right. So what do you want to move on to next, Gary?
Let's go to the most important part of the show.
All right. Well, most important part of our show, for those of you guys that don't know, we are a veteran-owned podcast and owned and operated here locally on the interwebs. And we have a segment dedicated to every segment is dedicated to a fallen service member every single episode and sponsored by Folds of Honor. This is our salute to service. This episode is dedicated to Army Specialist William J. Tracy, who passed away February 25th, 2003, serving during Operation Enduring Freedom. He was 27 years old from New Hampshire. He was assigned to B Company, 5th Battalion, 158th Aviation, Aviano Air Base, Italy. And he was killed in a UH-60 Black Hawk crash in Kuwait. Army Specialist William Tracy, we have the watch.
And now on
to the least enjoyable transition that we do on our show.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the playoffs. Let's talk about the playoffs, boys. I'm going to go in order. So let's just jump right into this one here. Saturday, afternoon. Okay, you getting ready to maybe get some burgers on the grill. If you're feeling bougie, get some steaks on the grill. If you're feeling Texan, get some brisket on the grill. If you're feeling like you just want to watch the fucking game, get some frozen pizzas in the oven. Saturday, 4:30 p.m., we've got the Seahawks taking on the San Francisco 49ers. This is going to be it's going to be an unfortunate end of the season for Geno Smith, in my opinion. It's the Niners are going to be on a warpath now as they're going to kick it on into overdrive for this postseason. I think that, like we've already alluded to earlier, if you don't think that the Niners are the best fucking team in the NFC, you have a dump in your pants, as they say, and my friends in the Northeast. The Niners are going to make it. I mean, they're going to make light work of the Seahawks, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's a division rivalry, and I think Seattle's going to get up for it. But I just look at what San Francisco's doing right now. They're going to be too much. That defense is too much. The running game's too much. It's been a great run for Seattle, and I think they're building back to kind of what they had with Legion of Boom, and an offense that can run the ball really well and make some plays. With some wide receivers that can get vertical, but this San Francisco team is just too much. And
yeah,
give me, a couple scores here. I think by mid fourth quarter, you're going to be tuning up the band for the evening game.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt. I mean, McCaffrey is gonna go have a nap there in the second half.
Yeah.
So next on the docket, Sunday night. You've already got a few brews in you. You've already watched the painful torturing of the Seahawks. And now we got a repeat game where the Baltimore Ravens are in Cincinnati for prime time. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I jumped ahead.
You jumped to Sunday.
Los Angeles Chargers in Jacksonville. So nice warm weather game. Saturday night prime time, 8:15 Eastern time on NBC. So this is a little bit more of an enjoyable game. These are two teams where I really believe this could be any team could win here. It just depends on which Jacksonville Jaguars shows up. And it's not really, I mean, look, we've seen some light out of Baker Mayfield's throwing arm for a brief amount of time, but the Jacksonville Jaguars show a little bit more promise. So Chargers, I keep thinking the Rams. Anyways, so I feel like the Chargers, based off of what we've seen in Brandon Staley's performance as a coach and the uptick of the Jaguars, man, it really could be anyone's game. I don't know. This one is the one I've waffled on the most for Wild Card Weekend.
This is a very interesting game for me because not so long ago, Jacksonville beat the Chargers 38-10. But I think the Chargers are better than that. And I don't know that the Jaguars are quite that good. And Aaron's right. The Chargers and the Jaguars are sort of Jekyll and Hyde. I'm taking the Jaguars because they're home and because I think that the Chargers are going to be without Mike Williams. And I think that Brandon Staley's job is actually going to go away after they lose to the Jaguars. I think that the Chargers are going to move on from Brandon Staley after another lightning rod season where he's just done and said weird things and they underachieved because they were all in. They went and got Khalil Mack. They went and made all these different moves, J.C. Jackson, yada, yada, yada. And they were all in for this year, and it's been a very underwhelming year for them. So give me the Jaguars, and I think Brandon Staley's gonna be fired. Best version of each team shows up. Chargers by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think it's a 2-possession game if the Chargers show up the way they should show up. But I just don't. I have more faith in the Jaguars being consistent enough to win than I do the Chargers.
100%. I agree.
That's where I'm at with it.
I trust the Jaguars more than I trust the Chargers. I never would have thought I
I
said that
never
this
thought
season.
I'd say that about the Jaguars, one, at the beginning of the season, but also, two, I never thought I would have that much lack of confidence in
Yeah,
a Justin Herbert offense.
they're just so Jekyll and Hyde. It's crazy. And
Yeah.
Aaron, that's a good question, right? But I don't trust that the best version of the Chargers is going to show up. So give me Duval.
Yeah, at home. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh, yeah.
So on to the next one. It's Sunday. You've worn off the hangover. Time to get a Bloody Mary going and watch the Miami Dolphins in Buffalo.
Time to dive through a folding table.
Listen, we talked about slaughter with the Seahawks and Niners game. This Dolphins game against the Bills is going to be another example of just the Bills probably deserving the bye week a little more.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think
so. We
Tua's
didn't
gonna
talk
play,
about that,
but
by
it's
the
gonna be
way.
cold.
We talked about the strong team in the NFC. Who is the real powerhouse in the AFC? You want to believe it's the Bengals?
Look, I think that the three best teams in football are in the AFC. I think that the three best teams in football are in the AFC.
You really think that the 49ers could just, they couldn't, if best team shows up, they couldn't beat the Bengals?
No.
Or the Chiefs?
Maybe the Chiefs.
The Chiefs are your three.
The Chiefs are three, and the Niners are a close four. I think that the best three teams in football are in the AFC.
Okay.
I think that if I'm racking and stacking them, I have to put them in categories.
Well, look, all you have to do is say who the Bills are, and then we'll be able to deduce the Bengals in our upcoming game here. But
I think the Bills are the most complete team because they've got a great offense and their defense can be great at times. The Bengals are the most dangerous team in football, and the Chiefs are that team that you don't want to overlook.
Yeah.
So
the three-headed dragon meme has a Bengal head, a Buffalo Bill, and a fucking Chiefs arrow on its face.
And then the fourth one is like the Dolphins, I guess, with Skylar Thompson at quarterback. I don't know. Buffalo's going to roll here, though, in this game. Honestly, even if Tua plays, it's going to be cold in Buffalo. They're expecting teens in terms of temperature. Buffalo's going to assert themselves. I don't think Miami's really got a chance against them up in Buffalo. So
I'm just saying, let's get Hamlin in a booth, please. Let's get Hamlin in a booth.
Yeah, they're going to do it right.
Bring some nurses over, put them up in the suite. Yeah.
They'll do it right when they have the opportunity.
They're going to do them right. It's the perfect organization for something like that to happen to, as terrible as that sounds.
Yeah, they handle it well.
They do. All right, so on to the next one. We're talking primetime Sunday night here. Excuse me. I've overlooked my least favorite game of this weekend.
I think it's everybody's least favorite game of the weekend.
It's my least favorite game, dude, because it doesn't fucking matter who wins.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who wins, but sure. The Giants on the road in another cold town in Minnesota. They're going to fucking play against the inconsistent Vikings and the Giants, who have just recently become slowly more and more exposed, and the magic is starting to fade. We're watching two coin toss teams go to play each other. And so this is a tough game to bet on, but I'm going to edge with the Vikings. And I'm going to edge with the Vikings because of, again, they are the better, more put together team. Daniel Jones is not a difference maker. I mean, he's not, dude. Dayball is the difference maker. So if it happens, then great. But I'm going with the PG safe route, and I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings.
Same. They're home. I think they're the better team, more talented team. I worry a bit about their defense, but to be honest, I don't see the Giants putting up enough points to keep up with Minnesota.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. So finally, after I've tried to get to it 2 other times, we've got a repeat of the Baltimore Ravens in Cincinnati Sunday night, 8:15 p.m. Eastern on NBC. it's going to be a repeat. There's not going to be any kind of adjustments that are going to be worthy of trying to dismantle the Cincinnati Bengals. When we talked about the AFC having the best 3 teams in the NFL, I 100%.
Aaron, I hope not.
Oh, man, Aaron, come on,
not.
dude. We don't need this.
It's been a weird season with New York.
It's been a weird season. We've talked about the magic.
Weird season.
And listen,
I don't fucking want that.
Hogwarts is out on holiday, bud. Let's just be done with this magic already. Let's watch some good football. And I feel like the Vikings are a much better team, and it would be funner to watch them. Anyways,
I agree.
I need more Justin Jefferson catches in my life. I'm not ready to let that go yet. I need him more to catch more shit than I need Saquon Barkley.
Saquon Barkley, 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
Exactly, dude. It's what happens when you have a shit offensive line. But when we talked about the 3 best teams in the AFC, I 100% agree with you. It is the Bengals, it is the Bills, and it is the Chiefs, and it is in that order. And the Bills are the most complete team in the AFC. I do believe the Chiefs are comfortable at 3, but they're equally as dangerous and capable of winning the Super Bowl. But I think, again, the Bengals are in stride. They are firing on all the cylinders necessary. Do they have the same defense as the Bills do as far as capability? Maybe not. Probably not.
They're good. Their defense is good.
They're good. And I'm not going to take that away. But the Bengals are going to score more than the Bills will. That's what it's going to be. Joe Mixon is a problem. Jamar Chase is a problem. Higgins is a problem. There are way too many problems on this offense. Joe Burrow is a fucking problem, ladies and gentlemen. And I've been saying it since he was at LSU. This man is a problem. You don't fuck with the white boy. Yeah. I mean, Joey Bird, Joe Shiesty, he's back at it again. And I mean, honestly, it would not surprise me. We'll see him at the AFC Championship. And I'm really waffling on this Bills Bengals AFC Championship. I'm already on to the next. But
no, I'm with you. The Bengals are going to roll. I don't care if Lamar plays. The Bengals are going to beat the Ravens. They're just a better team. Joe doesn't get rattled under pressure, and that's sort of what the Ravens have been able to do to other teams. Bengals, they're going to roll. I don't know that Lamar even plays, to be completely honest.
Nor should he.
It sounds to me like there's skepticism and optimism in that locker room at the same time.
There doesn't need to be, yeah.
I don't know. Even if he plays, though, give me the Bengals.
There just needs to be skepticism in that locker room.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's unfortunate, but it needs to be at the QB position.
Yeah.
So wrapping it up with, I mean, I hate that this is the Monday game, to be honest with you. But, you know, wild card weekend, I don't think is as entertaining from we're watching the greats compete perspective. You know, I feel like the real playoffs start next week. But with that being said, the Dallas Cowboys on the road, primetime Monday night against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Touchdown Tommy's at home. Dallas is coming off of a shaky, a fucking pathetic loss. And Brady's not done much better. Who is more vindictive? Who is more capable of recovering that record to pull it off in the postseason? I mean, you've got to go with the 9-0 Tom Brady.
Yeah.
But I want to be clear. I'm Lee Corsoing this shit. I'm going and I'm riding all the way down to fucking hell with the Dallas Cowboys. And they will beat Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They will win.
We're getting the one this weekend. 9-1.
9-1. It's happening.
2 pick sixes in the game. Okay.
Tom is gonna fucking have a problem with Stephon or with Diggs. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. I don't believe that for a minute because Trayvon sucks.
Diggs Island, dog. No.
Yeah. It's an island that everybody visits.
It's the Bahamas, really. Yeah. It's fucking Key West. But
anyway. No, hey, listen, I that's fine because the Bucs have not been
Yeah.
what I would have expected them to be.
I feel like it's a safer bet than people realize.
But I really only have a couple of rules when it comes to the NFL. One, I don't wager real money on Washington games, which I broke this past weekend and bet the over. And of course, they laid an egg. Uh, Two, you don't bet against Tom in the playoffs. I'm going with the Bucks. The last time we saw the Bucks play a meaningful game because they locked the division up, Mike Evans put a 50 burger on you fantasy folks out there.
Yeah.
And it looked like that Tom and Mike had their chemistry back. And you know what they say, when Stella gets her groove back, Tom Brady's going to win playoff games. And I just think that that's what we're seeing with the Bucks. It took a long time to get there, and they were very fortunate that the NFC South sucked this year. But it looks like the Bucks are in position to make a run in the playoffs because of the chemistry that's starting to click on offense. And I'm taking the Bucks here in this game. They're at
That's
home,
fair.
and that's
That's fair. And you're wrong, but that's okay.
it's okay to be wrong sometimes.
Yeah. I'll probably be wrong, but I won't admit it. All right. What we got next?
You ready to get in our bag?
Well, it's time to get in our fucking bag, son.
All right.
Welcome, because we're in our bag right now. Be sure to submit your questions to us. You can DM us. You can comment on a photo. You can also reach out to us on Twitter or Instagram. Aaron Altas asks, can the Broncos be successful with Wilson if they find the right head coach, offensive coordinator, and invest in the offensive line in the offseason? I mean, you're asking a lot, but yes. But you're asking again for offensive line investment and a good head coach, offensive coordinator. So my immediate question is, who are those HCOCs that you're investing in? And I mean, they can always invest in the offensive line. They can. Will they do it is a better question, I think. And my answer is no. So, but to answer your question, can the Broncos be successful with Wilson? Yes, I think they can. But again, you've got to find the head coach that meshes with Russ and understands the type of offense that he's capable of. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's all fair. And Ken is definitely the operative word here. I've got one scenario that I think is a slam dunk and one scenario that I think can be successful. My can be successful scenario is that they hire Jim Harbaugh because I like what he did in San Francisco. I think he can manage quarterbacks like a Russ Wilson, and I think they have some pieces in place that he can get the running game back established. I think that was the problem that Hackett had. Whether that fell on Hackett or if he was trying to appease Russ Wilson, they wouldn't run the ball when they should have run the ball, and they were throwing the ball when they shouldn't have been throwing the ball. So
Yeah.
it could have been a bit about Hackett trying to kind of appease Wilson, or it could have just been Hackett being incompetent. That's very possible as well. I like Jim Harbaugh as a possibility here that can work because of the way that he managed the Kaepernick situation with Alex Smith, and they ran the ball so well with San Francisco, and they made explosive plays with play action. And I think that's the kind of quarterback Russell Wilson can be. He can be a guy that can manage an offense and hit those big explosive plays when he can, because that's honestly how Seattle won a Super Bowl with Russell Wilson and played in another Super Bowl with Russell Wilson. They ran the ball well. They played defense. They've already got a great defense in Denver, and they can hit some explosive plays because he throws a pretty deep ball. They just haven't had the opportunity to really hit those deep balls in Denver. They do need the O-line because that feeds into establishing the run and being able to protect while those deep routes develop. So That's one scenario for me that I think can be successful. My slam dunk scenario for the Broncos is that they find a way to get Sean Payton, because I look at what Sean Payton did in New Orleans, and he can build that similar offense for Russ Wilson with the added element that he's got a much stronger arm than Drew Brees ever had.
Yeah.
To kind of take the top off of a defense. But they've got Javonte Williams in place. I think he could be like an Alvin Kamara, what he was, or a Mark Ingram was for Sean Payton in New Orleans. And I think that they can really build that offense. And Sean Payton, to me, is one of those mad genius type guys who can build his game around what he's got in terms of players, because you look at the different types of guys that he had there. Jimmy Graham was super successful. Marcus Colston was super successful. Michael Thomas was super successful. Those are three completely different guys. And then you see Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram were a two-headed monster. And I think that Javonte Williams, despite the injury this year, is one of the best young running backs in football. So that's my slam dunk scenario for the Broncos, that if they can get Sean Payton, pair him with Russell Wilson, they can be successful. You put it perfectly, though. Will they do it, or will they be able to do it this offseason? I don't know how desirable that job is right now with some of the reports coming out about Russ and his.
It's purely the allure behind Denver that prevents me from believing that they will be able to do it.
Yeah, that's the question. Will they be able to?
Because they're not an unhealthy organization. They have some good decision makers, I think, in the organization all the way up. And they want what's best for the team. This isn't an Irsay situation where there's ego involved to a point where they're incapable of making smart decisions from a recruiting standpoint to be able to get what they need. And I think that Sean Payton is the perfect coach. Like, I'm against the Harbaugh hire. I really am. Like, I don't think that it's the right. It's not just because I don't think it's the right fit. I think it would be a good fit. I don't think that Harbaugh is going to want to invest in a team that's rebuilding.
That's fair.
The way that they are. I mean, Harbaugh wants to be able to move on to the next winning team. He's just spent all of his energy rebuilding the Michigan program after leaving the San Francisco 49ers in the position that they were in.
You need that Dayball fairy dust.
And you know what? I feel like Sean Payton's got plenty of that shit. He's got that in bulk.
Payton is the slam dunk, I think.
Yeah. I still want him for Dallas. But anyways, let's move on.
I heard a scenario that sounded actually realistic with him going going back to New Orleans and taking Tom Brady with him. Imagine that.
That would hurt. That would hurt my soul.
Oh, let's move on. Aaron's got another good question here.
So Aaron's got another
home runs in our bag today.
How many quarterbacks are coach proof? It's hard to say with quarterbacks when we think about people like Josh Allen, excuse me. Jared Allen, Jesus. That was a reference from way back.
Hey, Jared Allen's a hell of a player too.
Yeah, hell of a player. Man, nobody made a horse collar look way more intense.
Roping quarterbacks.
I'm telling you, that man and that horse collar was legitimate.
Absolutely.
Anyways, when I think about Josh Allen, it's hard to say because he hasn't had time outside of his quarterback or outside of his current coach. Do I think that Sean McDermott is like this prodigal coach that's going to be able to like turn quarterbacks into masterminds and you know, the Bill Belichick level coach? We haven't seen that yet because of time, but not because he's incapable. We've seen some great decisions, great football come out of Buffalo. So when I think of the immediates, coach proof, I think of my initial guy. Number one quarterback that I'm thinking of right now is Joe Burrow, because he went from an LSU situation where he didn't have the best coach. And that's a fact. Like, look, I love the guy. Don't get me wrong. Coach O is too legit to quit. Okay.
He's a better recruiter than head coach.
And so, but, you know, he hasn't had this like top tier elite, very cerebral Greg Popovich, you know, Bill Belichick, Shanahan type coach. It hasn't happened. And so that's my immediate guy. How many quarterbacks are how many quarterbacks are coach proof? I think it's a number that you can count on your hands. So I would say,
I'm I'm gonna say this because I thought about this question
okay,
and I thought I was gonna be in the minority here, but I applaud you for not falling victim to some of the hype around other quarterbacks that aren't coach proof.
yeah,
I applaud that. Counting
yeah,
on a single hand because my list is really short. My list in the history of the NFL is really short. And I leave a lot of guys off the list that I think people would probably put on that list. Brady's not on my list in the history of the game for coach proof. Montana is not on my list in the history of the game for coach proof. My coach proof list in the history of the game is probably a dozen guys.
yeah,
Maybe, and I'm being very loose with saying a dozen because right now in today's game, I have three, really two and a half, because it's Burrow, it's Herbert, and I might throw Aaron Rodgers on that list in today's game. I don't have Mahomes on the list. I don't have Allen on the list. I don't have Brady on the list. And I'm going to tell you why. Because Mahomes went to a situation where he was able to, one, learn for a year, and two, he was hidden behind Andy Reid's greatness for the first 2 years of him as a starter. And now we're starting to see a guy who has grown into that system and has mastered that system. Josh Allen, same thing in Buffalo. They didn't ask a lot of him early on, and he was able to grow into mastering his offensive system. Tom Brady, same thing in New England. They didn't ask a lot of him early on, manage the game, make us some plays when it was crunch time, and he was able to grow into mastering the game of football, really, because now he's system proof. Peyton Manning is a guy I think in the history of the game who is coach proof. John Elway, Dan Marino, and I've got Burrow and I've got Herbert right now are my two guys in current football. Justin Herbert is a fucking mutant when it comes to running an offense. And I'm going to give you a case in point, and it's been highlighted several times over the last few weeks. He got a flea flicker and threw a ball 90 feet, 30 yards on a rail to Keenan Allen and beat a DB by about 3 inches. He had a window of about the size of a football to get it in. That, to me, that's coach proof, him making plays within and without the system. Joe Burrow is another guy who I think he's so calm and untouchable. Him and Zach Taylor do have some chemistry, but I
yeah,
think that Joe Burrow could have gone to any team in the NFL and would have immediately made that team better. And that, to me, is what coach proof means.
yeah.
Aaron, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this question because you asked it for a reason. Obviously, it was kind of in conjunction with the Broncos question. How many guys do you think are coach proof?
I think that my current list, current quarterbacks, is three. It's it's Josh Allen, it is Joe Burrow, and number three, and it's probably close between 3, 4, and 5, or 3 and 4, is oh man, I don't really want to give it to Aaron Rodgers, but I think I give him the edge over Pat. Um, I think that's where I'm at, and only because Joe Burrow was great, regardless of his coaches. Period. I mean, that's proven. His first loss. Um, I mean, the amount of losses that man has taken is a very minimal number. But when you look at Josh Allen, his coach probably had a good deal to do with it. Sure, but once he's understood the transition from going from like a no-name program like Wyoming to where he's at now, and Stefan has not always played every game. And when he is there, he performs. His ability to act on his own outside of his coaching, I think right now makes him coach. I think he could operate with any coach in the NFL and be successful. He can go from Bruce Arians to Mike McCarthy to Shanahan to Pete Carroll. There's not a single coach I can think. He can go to fucking Jeff Saturday and make that work. I do. Because he's got the sling, he's got the eye, he's got the scramble ability, so on and so forth. And I give the edge to Aaron Rodgers only because I firmly believe that Pat Mahomes is not near as good as he is without Andy Reid. Andy Reid is the difference maker with the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think we have a similar definition. I think we just, for me, the Josh Allen thing, they, when I think coach proof, I think of guys that are going to come into the league and it doesn't matter where they go, they're going to be successful. And Joe Burrow is that. Josh
Yeah.
Allen, I think, was given some leeway with Buffalo, and that's why I don't have him on my list. And Aaron, that's right. Any scheme or offense, are they going to be able to succeed? Are they going to be able to make plays? It don't matter what the infrastructure is. They're going to be able to make a team better. I'd be curious, Aaron, if you do have an answer, how many you've got on your list right now that are currently in the league. But we got one more question from Aaron that I saved for the bag from earlier in the show. So he posted this in the chat, and I pushed it to the mailbag.
All right. So a fresh letter in the bag here. Aaron Altas asks, who moves up to number 1? Seattle has a lot of draft capital. Do they move or stick with Geno? I mean, I feel like if I'm Pete Carroll, you've got enough potential to maybe trade Geno, but I don't know that. Man, I feel like your best bet is to maybe not gamble on the quarterback this year. Is just to hold. But to who moves to number 1? Oh, man. I'll defer to you on this one, but it's definitely not going to be who's currently slotted up there. So that's where I'm at with it. Gary?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot of doubt. And like I said earlier in the show, there's only 2 scenarios that Chicago stays at number 1. If they find an offensive tackle that they can just plug in for the next 10 years, or a pass rusher that's going to get them 15 sacks for the next 8 years. I'm going to say that. Seattle doesn't move up. I don't think they move up. And I think it's because they look at what they're building right now, and a couple more draft picks can change a lot of things for them, and they're not going to want to give up the draft capital. They hit a lot of home runs this past draft, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and the emergence of Geno Smith as a serviceable starting quarterback there allows them the opportunity to potentially go build more offensive line. Maybe
that's what it is, man. He's serviceable.
Yeah. He's not going to light the world on fire. He's not a guy that's going to carry you to 12, 13 wins, but he's a good quarterback. And I think it allows them to build the offensive line, maybe build the defense even more. And I think they're going to save their draft capital. They're not moving up. They're going to stick with Geno. I think he's the starting quarterback for them next year.
I think that Max, to Aaron's next question, is how many years is Geno going to give him, though? I think it's 3 max.
3.
Because I think he increases and maybe does well for himself this season, depending on how they do in the draft in the offseason, who they pick up. I think next year is going to
paying him $40 million.
Right, exactly. And it's the telltale year for him. And then from there, they'll have somebody that they can, he'll go be a free agent, or he'll be able to trade off. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that it's the magic number for him is 3 at best, but we could see him gone after next year.
I think so. Three's probably the leash for him. As for who moves up to number 1, I'll tell you, before this weekend, I thought Houston was just going to have the number 1 pick, and I thought that Atlanta was going to be trying to trade up with Chicago to get the number 2 pick.
Yeah.
That's not happening anymore.
I feel like Houston's going to have to get into this number 1 pick.
That might be the dark horse. Honestly, they might have to, if they really like either Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, they might have to move and give the Bears an extra pick just to move up 1 spot. And the Bears are going to cash in twice. Yeah, honestly, because they're going to trade out of number 1 potentially to Houston at number 2.
Exactly.
Pick up another pick. And then, because the team that I think is going to make the move to move up is in the AFC South with the Houston Texans, and the Houston Texans are not going to be okay with letting them move up to number 1. I think Houston's going to give up something to Chicago, then Chicago is going to sell again to the Indianapolis Colts. And I think the Colts are going to sell the farm. They're going to give up a bunch of picks to move up because they are still in we miss Andrew Luck mode. And I think they're going to look at this draft and say, we might be able to go get Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
So the Colts are the team that I think are going to move. I think Houston might trade a la kind of San Francisco and what they did, moving up only a slot or two. Or, when they actually made the trade with the Bears back when they drafted Trubisky. I think, honestly, Indy's going to be that team that's going to move up unless Houston moves up, and then Indy's going to move into number 2. The important question.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think you mean drum. There you go, drums or flats. Yeah, it's flats all day, dude. And I won't.
Oh man, I thought I liked you.
I won't hear that childish drum shit, dude. If you can't eat a flat, get the fuck out of my face.
Okay.
There's a right way to eat a flat. You debone it with one twist, and you're done.
Let's not get it twisted. I order a dozen wings. I get drums and flats. They're all getting smashed. But if I save the drums because I like the drums more.
No, dude.
I do.
I won't hear it. It's flats all day.
I will stick a flat in my eyeball and still eat it.
Little twist, and then voila.
See,
I don't have to.
I'm a picker.
I don't like gnawing around.
I'm a picker. I am. I'll eat the flat around and then pick the meat in between. Absolutely.
That's the same reason why I don't like corn on a cob.
Yeah.
I don't like to eat around shit. Just give me
corn on the cob too.
Fucking goods, bud. Give me the goods.
Brett likes flat, which is perfect too, because we
know who the better brother is all.
Well, it's also perfect too, because if we order like a couple dozen wings, he gets a dozen flats, I get a dozen drums, and we're good.
Oh, dude, Russ is boneless with a fork.
Boneless wings with a fork.
This man is boneless with a fork.
He's eating them adult chicken nuggets.
He's in like dry rub, and it's like, yeah. No. He eats them like British style, where you put like vinegar on them or some shit, like you would fish and chips. That's what Russ does, because that's that man squats and sits to pee. I won't hear it otherwise. But yeah, it's flats all day long, Brett, and it's not even close. I can't stand drums.
You don't even like them?
No, dude. Like
I'm an equal opportunity fucking.
I don't get, dude. If you charge me extra for flats, fine.
It is weird that places will charge you like $1 extra for all flats or all wings. Like,
yeah, because
it takes you half a second to just pick drums instead of flats.
I've never seen.
Like, come on.
No, dude, Aaron. No, I won't listen to. With ranch.
Watch your.
That's
the
Rusty ultimate disrespect.
With ranch. Yeah. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
No.
Blue cheese all day. Brett actually, my brother doesn't dip. He just eats the wings. He does.
Same. I don't have time for fucking dressing or dipping.
I love a little blue cheese offset of the. Oh man,
I don't mind blue cheese.
Wings.
If I'm picking two, I'm going blue cheese. If I'm picking one, rather, I'm going blue cheese. However, my preference is dry. Whenever I'll ask for blue cheese because of the table, I won't associate with fucking children that eat ranch when I'm eating wings. But my daughter eats ranch. That's fine. She's a child. She doesn't know better. Her palate is not sophisticated enough to handle blue cheese. I guess whatever.
Although my kids are blue cheese eaters with wings.
Good. They're learning correctly. I've failed my children, but
they'll dip everything else in ranch except a chicken wing.
But I'm from the South, so ranch reigns supreme.
I know.
So. But with that being said, I go dry.
Fries and everything.
Dude, give me some fucking garlic parmesan flats.
I like
all
garlic
day.
Parm. I like a garlic parm.
Garlic parm and lemon pepper.
I'll tell you one. I said this to Stove last night. We were talking about it. One that'll catch you off guard. Peanut butter on a wing.
Listen, white people, we need to talk.
That's fair, but it's good. It's good.
We need to talk, bud. No, it's okay. Actually, if you look at the real, I don't know if you've ever had mole before, but
dude.
But I mean, the traditional recipe involves.
I will bathe in mole.
It involves chocolate and peanut butter, actually. So,
Hot
Brett,
garlic parm,
dude,
spicy,
so there is a
Yep.
wing restaurant chain here in Austin called Pluckers, and they have a spicy garlic parm. Fuck, dude, it's my go-to. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm ordering 12 or 15 wings or whatever it is, 14, 16, whatever it is, I'm
Yep.
going half lemon pepper and half spicy garlic
You
parm.
you and Brett are in the same wheelhouse with wings for sure. Hot garlic, spicy garlic. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely.
That's where I'm at with it. But yeah, no, ranch can go fuck itself. I've
Yeah.
never liked ranch my entire life. Can't do
Ranch
it.
can suck 2 dicks from the back.
Yeah. I don't mind ranch dip, like with the chips or whatever, but I won't put dip shit in ranch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways. All right. What else?
Get some cat facts.
Let's do it. Cat facts. Aaron Rodgers only uses retirement hints as his way to keep himself in the media spotlight. Bro, the most facts.
Dad, I told you we were going to get to it. I told you we were going to get to it.
Senior, I hope we're not too far past your bedtime. I know it's late out there on the Eastern Seaboard, but I got to tell you, this is so facts, it's not even funny. This man thrives on relevance. There's a reason why he went to Rogan. There's a reason why he loves going to the Pat McAfee show for Aaron Rodgers Tuesday. There is a reason why he enjoys the negative attention that he gets within reason. But this man knows how to stay relevant.
Absolutely.
He knows how to keep the market up on his stock. So this is 100% facts.
Big facts. Big facts. And he knew what he was doing after that game when he told Jameson Williams, I got to keep this one. I got to keep this one. He knew exactly what he was fucking doing. If they won that game, he gives the jersey up. No big deal. Even though it's his last game at Lambeau Field, he gives that jersey up. But because they lost, he's got to fuel the speculation, keep himself in the spotlight. Yeah, 100%. Big facts. Yeah. Karen Rodgers keeping himself in the spotlight.
Love it. Love it. On to the next one. The Texans are the least desirable head coach opening. Cat facts. Oh. I feel like because of the publicity, you want to give the edge to the Broncos, actually. But they at least have the quarterback position kind of figured out. I mean, they could, likely, because you still want to have some inkling of faith in Russ. So I am going to go Cap, but only because the Bears edge him out.
Ooh, Bears. I'm facts on this one. I know the Bears is tough because of kind of how they've mismanaged things over the last couple decades, basically historically with kind of pockets of exceptions in between.
Yeah.
I know the Broncos is a tough one because of a lot of the negativity around Russ, but they've got a good ownership group, brand new ownership group. It's the Walton family. They've got a good ownership group there. I think
the McNairs have to have the edge, though, right?
100%. Like this is facts.
I get it.
It's the McNairs. It's the controversy with Deshaun Watson, and it's the fact that they have hired 2 minority coaches in the last 2 years and fired them after a year, which tells me that it's lip service from the McNairs that they hired Lovey because of the whole lawsuit with Flores, and they hired now his name eludes me, but they hired him the year before because they were trying to entice Deshaun Watson to play. Like, this is as toxic an organization as possible, and I'm still 100% convinced that McNair's neighbor, who happens to be handling all of the litigation for all of these accusers of Deshaun Watson, that the McNairs had a hand in that. So 100%, this is the most toxic fucking organization.
I tried to defend the Texans, but yeah, I'm waffled out on it. It's definitely the Texans. The McNair family is really kind of what does it for me.
It just is. It just is.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, give Brian Flores a call. Maybe that'll help you save face.
Maybe.
All right, Cat facts. The Lions will contend for the NFC North next season. This is also facts. I mean, this is facts. This is facts. The Lions proved this year that they are a lot closer to being relevant than people realize, and there's no doubt in my mind that With the outlook that we see look, the Vikings aren't on a bad track. Green Bay is still on shaky ground because of their quarterback situation. They have some glimmers of hope, and the Bears, there's no sign of, there's no sign of like good things to come where they're going to be proper contenders. The Lions will likely be the favorites next season, as they should be.
Yeah, I like those points. I think the Vikings will be the favorite next year. And I think it's going to depend a little bit on kind of the offseason for the Packers. But I think Vegas will have the Vikings as the favorite.
Sure.
But in my eyes, I do think that right now, in this very moment, if I'm picking a team to win the NFC North next year, it's the Lions. And I'm going to take a little bit of a victory lap right now because I said it before the season, and our resident Lions fan sort of scoffed at it pretty heavily. I said they were a dark horse contender to make the playoffs. And to be honest, if the Rams hold on, the Lions are in the playoffs, right? I mean, that's the truth of the matter because they beat the Packers here. So I saw kind of the writing on the wall that things were going in the right direction, and I took a little bit of a chance to say I think that they were going to put it together this year. They nearly did, right? And close. They had a chance to make the playoffs. And I do think that one, they've got a couple of things figured out that are really, really, really important in the NFL. They've got the offensive line figured out, and they've got the defensive line figured out. Aiden Hutchinson is the real deal. The real deal. He's in Lawrence Taylor territory as a rookie with the only there's like four, I think it is. Lawrence Taylor, two other guys, and now Aiden Hutchinson to have 9.5 or more sacks and 3 INTs in the same season. So I'm all in on the Lions next year as being my favorite for the NFC North. I still think that Vegas puts the Vikings as the betting favorite, but give me the Lions to win the NFC North next year.
Yeah, I should have rephrased my point. Definitely more first person. I believe that the Lions are my favorite going into next season.
Oh, that's fair. I just wanted to clarify kind of where I stood. I do think that the Vikings will be the betting.
Oh, for sure. They will be the clear-cut Vegas. I mean, if Vegas is going to put out a number, it's going to be on the Vikings.
I think up as a whole because I think the Packers are going to keep Aaron Rodgers and do some work on the offensive line. That's really where they need to improve. And I think Christian Watson could be the next Devontae Adams type guy.
Aaron Rodgers still has potential to still. I mean, I don't think the gas is out in that tank.
2 years. I think he's got 2 years left.
Yeah, he's still capable of being good.
I think Christian Watson is going to be the real deal there. Could be the next guy who's sort of like a Devontae Adams. His speed is better than Devontae Adams too.
Yeah,
but I think up because I do. Maybe I'm cutting my nose off to spite my face, but I think the Bears are going to do some good things with that draft capital this offseason. And Justin Fields has shown that he can play in this league.
Yeah. The Cowboys will be fine despite the stinker against Washington. I mean, I feel like we've already kind of talked about our house divided here on the opinion, but yeah, I mean, I think that they're going to be fine. I think that they're going to be fine through the next week. I'm no longer confident that the Cowboys are going to the NFC Championship. The Niners ruined any and all hopes for me, but I still think that they're close to greatness, and I feel like they're going to be better next year than they even were this year. I really do. I mean, we'll see what happens if they play the right cards and they put a franchise tag on Tony Pollard, and then they build up, and figure out what they're going to do with the wide receiver position. I mean, just because like you've got a lot of really good people. CD Lamb, I think, is, in my opinion, overrated, but you've got some good, viable passing threats. You've got to secure your running threats. And then from there, it's just a matter of you've got to add a little bit more to that defensive line. And I think you'll be in good shape. So I think I think this is facts that the Cowboys will be fine.
I took this a little more kind of in the immediacy with my answer. I don't think so. I think they're going to go lay an egg against the Bucs. I don't like what I saw from them this past weekend. However, I do think you're absolutely right about this offseason being kind of a pivotal one for them. I think they
Yeah.
need to reload a little bit on the offensive line. I think they need to get another wide receiver because they don't really, in my opinion, have anything that complements CeeDee Lamb, who he's
Right.
so up and down,
You've got
but he
Michael
can be a
Gallup. You've got
playmaker.
yeah. I mean, look, T.Y. Hilton was a great addition. In some moments we've seen him already have a clutch play in his short time here, but he's not the long term solution. You really do if you're
Go get
gonna
another guy.
yeah
And
if
wide
you're gonna
receivers deep again this year, so they're going to have opportunities to
just
get a
fucking
guy
go for OBJ already and quit
or
playing.
that, or that for sure.
Yeah,
And Brett's right. Injury history with Gallup, it
yeah,
piles up, and you can't count on him. And I think CeeDee Lamb, if you can just convince him this offseason that he's not a fucking soccer player and he's allowed to use his hands to catch the ball, then I think he'll be okay.
yeah.
But you got to get another guy, I think, to complement what
I think you've got to get
CeeDee
a
Lamb is
senior guy.
dynamic with the ball in his hands. And
You've
maybe
got
it
to
is a
get
free agent. Maybe it's a free agent.
you've got to get him an OG, and you've got to get him an OBJ. I
Maybe it's a
really
free
do
agent.
think that that's a huge thing because it's got to be it's going to be a proper wideout. Because I feel like with Schultz and even Gallup and T.Y. Hilton or whoever's on the roster next year, I think that we have enough threats there.
Sure.
That's
Sure.
yeah. Offensive line, yeah, sure. There's been a lot of rotations this year. There's because of injury and everything else. You've got to strengthen that up a little bit. I may be being greedy on the defensive line whenever I
You've
said
got
that,
to
but
take pressure off Dak.
yeah,
That's the most important thing. When Dak was at his best, it was his rookie year when you had Zeke running for 1,400 yards and the defense was shutting everybody down, and you asked Dak to throw the ball 17 times a game. Now that
yeah.
you're asking Dak to throw it 30, 35 times a game, no way. Yeah, look,
Look,
Lazard
Lazard's cap is going to be his stock is going to be way up.
maybe, but I also think that he's a guy who's got a bad injury history too. So you might be trading one bad injury history for another. I'm not sure.
I
Lazard is
mean,
a guy I think could
give
be a
me Lazard
reliable
over
guy next
Gallup
year.
though.
Oh, sure. I agree with you. I agree with you. I think Lazard's a better option than Gallup for sure.
Fair enough.
But it is. You've got to have another guy outside of Lamb. Lamb's dynamic with the ball in his hands, but you've got to have a guy who takes some of that focus off of CD. When they drop back to pass, nobody respects Noah Brown. Nobody respects T.Y. Hilton in his old age. And teams don't respect Gallup, as much as maybe we think they should. And CD doesn't get a lot of room to operate. You got to give him space because that's when he's at his best.
Right. Agreed. All right.
Well, let's shift to a little damn K.
All right. Let's do it. So, my damn K of the week, it's got to go in general to the Jaguars. I think is probably my favorite. Being able to produce the Doug Peterson offense the way it's worked out. I mean, like for me, it's got to be the Jaguars. I didn't see them having a singular chance to make the postseason, and here they are. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the Jags.
Yeah, that's a good choice. I thought the Titans would run away with that division. Injuries caught up with them. Tannehill's been knocked out of games and dinged up all season. So Jaguars have taken full advantage and they're playing good football. For me, it's similar, and it's just kind of the culmination of a season that I think is starting to kind of turn things around in the Motor City. It's Detroit. It's a big win, knocking out Green Bay. The way they did it, persevering. It was not a clean game. It was not an easy win. They got that late touchdown to take the lead, and then they picked Aaron Rodgers off again. And the DB that picked it off, Kirby Jones, I think is his last name, but he's like the first player ever to have 3 picks against Rodgers in a season. So that's a big fucking deal for a team that's turning a corner and to knock off who's been Big Brother for more than a decade in that division, basically for 30 years with Favre and Rodgers, essentially. That's a big deal, and the Lions are going in the right direction. And to finish this season and put a stamp on it with a win over Green Bay, knocking them out of the playoffs. For that, I say, damn, okay.
So to just little cherry on top for me, I wrote this down earlier in the show. And I feel like the Lions are a prime example of a coach who's going out on his shield. He performed and did what needed to be done. And I feel like in a very petty way, Lovie Smith did the same exact thing. He thought about, well, my coaching record needs to show a win rather than a loss on this game. And you're going to fire me anyways, and fuck you guys. So just a quick little fucking to the McNair family on his way out, dude. And he pulls out the dub. But yeah, that's a good one. Damn good one.
Good for him.
Appropriate. So congrats, Brian. Let's get into that. Which Brian are we congratulating for you this week, Gary?
I am going to congratulate a man with a name that starts with B, but it's not Brian. Bob McNair. Congrats on losing the first pick because you're a fucking asshole.
What a perfect segue,
man. Absolutely. I feel like you set that up so perfectly.
A little finger roll layup into the alley-oop.
But honestly, congrats on losing that first pick because you deserve it. It couldn't have happened to a better fucking dickhead and a better fucking franchise. Yeah. I'm glad Lovie went out, as you put it, on his shield. We're going to go after this win because, God, it's such nonsense there right now with they're muddying the waters with Watson, fired 2 minority head coaches in back-to-back years with 1 year under their belt. It's such nonsense. So for that, fuck you, Bob McNair. Congrats, Brian.
Yeah, I dig that. Mine is not even about an organization or somebody that's even that really important. My congrats, Brian, goes to the man who went viral for throwing a temper tantrum as he walked himself crying and screaming and babbling like a fool back into the locker room after he got disqualified for pushing a fucking athletic trainer on the field. Quay Walker.
The second time this year he's been disqualified for pushing somebody who's not wearing equipment.
Ooh. Quay Walker. Congrats, Brian. You are an absolute, like, fucking dunce is an understatement. Like, you're an idiot, dude. And who knows the overall game implications? Sure. But man, to do that on the stage that you're on, your job, especially, I mean, you were contractually obligated to make this team go as far as it needs to go. And you decide to let something as petty as your ego.
Yeah.
And what? You're not going to be tried by what? Some 5'8" dickhead in a polo who's trying to get to his guy?
He's just trying to get to an injured player.
His job is to run to that man. And that's what he did. And you pushed him for it. And you know what? You deserve to be ejected. And you know what? You deserve to be absolutely. I mean, you were getting pristine fucking Wagyu filet mignon.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Oh, dude, his walk-off was all time.
Oh, my God.
Only rivaled by the average toddler in mid-tantrum.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When you tell them they can't have Kraft mac and cheese only for dinner.
Gotta eat something with it.
Gotta eat something. Where's the meat? Where's the beef? But anyways, so yeah, that's my congrats, Brian. What a cunt.
Yeah.
Anyways. All right. I think we did it.
That's it, bud. Good episode.
Yeah, good episode. We made it through.
Got there.
Had a nice little spread of folks on the show tonight, and much appreciated there.
All the participation.
Jeff, David, Aaron, Brett, Senior. Always good to see you guys. Some of you guys first face in a long time.
Yeah.
But anyways, the A1 since day ones. We appreciate you guys, and we'll be back next week whenever we debrief everything that's going to be going down this weekend. Gary, any closing thoughts?
Playoffs are here, man. I'm excited. We got Super Wildcard Weekend. Some people have thoughts about whether, the 7 teams now in the playoffs is too many, but anything that gets me more playoff football, playoff any sport, I'm all for it.
Yeah. My damn K actually really should have gone to Scott Hansen for just completing another amazing season of Red
He's
Zone.
so
His
good.
sign-off
So
got me so
good.
in my feelings
Yeah.
this week because he's done. That is my biggest regret, is that we don't get to watch Red Zone again until next year, or until preseason. So, anyways, we'll miss you, Scott. Anyways, from all of us here at Backyard Sports, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to tune in next Tuesday night, where we will debrief everything that has happened from what I'm sure is going to be a crazy wild card weekend. And we get ready to see how well these well-rested teams are going to do the following week as they get to start working through their first week bye. We appreciate you guys. Backyard Blitz, brought to you by Backyard Sports Media. Be sure to tune in next week. Be sure to check in. When's the next tailgate airing?
Wednesday, tomorrow. Tomorrow
Okay,
we're going to recap the Natty.
You've got to recap the absolute pillaging that happened in Los Angeles as 72-year-old Bennett gets himself another Natty. Jesus, that man is
collecting Social Security and winning national championships.
My man is out here drawing off the 401k, riding off into the sunset. Is there a 401k with NIL deals? Apparently, so
I guess so. Comes with pennies.
We appreciate you guys. Tune in tomorrow for the Tailgate Trash Talk. We will see you guys next week. See ya.